Tonight on Joy News Prime, 722 farmlands destroyed, 80 houses destroyed, 336 persons displaced in a preliminary assessment of havoc caused by recent rains which continue to impact negatively on the Upper West region.
722 farmlands have actually been washed away of what happened on Friday, and the total number of farmers of this acres stood at 1,605, and the total number of households that have actually collapsed is 80 of them.
Former President John Mahama lashes out at the government for continuing to abandon major projects started under his leadership.
So I urge that you continue to urge on this president that the E-blocks that are standing, they are a disgrace to our national reputation.
We have details as he asks government to pay attention to concerns raised by Fix the Country campaigners and shake off its seeming intolerant posture. Also tonight, kissing priests at the St. Monica's College of Education asked to step aside and stop acting as chaplain and lawyer of the school until further notice.
Reverend Father, by the directive of the church, he should be relieved of all his clerical and pastoral services to the school.
More as the Anglican Church says, a comprehensive report recommending appropriate sanctions is expected from a committee tasked to investigate the matter. Later in business, averting a food crisis, National Food Buffer Stock Company discloses fertilizers are being transported to address shortages in the northern part of the country.
Yes, fertilizers there have been delay in supply of fertilizer, but that issue has been resolved. A number of trucks have moved from Tema to the parts of the north to deliver fertilizers to farmers.
And later in the bulletin, the rights of women in Afghanistan will be respected within the framework of Islamic law. The Taliban said this in its first news conference since taking control of the country on Sunday. Tonight, we'll speak to Piotr Kazin, independent geopolitical analyst, on the Afghan situation. We have details of all these and more, plus the latest in showbiz and sports here on Joy News Prime, coming to you live from our studios at Fanofa at Kukumlimle in Accra. We are on your digital TV because you are free to air DSTV, channel 421, GoTV 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, credible, and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. Many thanks for joining us wherever you are. Now, residents of the Upper West region count their losses amidst cry for help as the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, conduct initial assessment of the extent of damage caused by last Thursday's floods in the Upper West region. The regional director of NADMO, Ahmed Mustafa, stated that the assessment done in 3 districts of the disaster revealed that a total of 722 farms have been destroyed, that's belonging to 1,605 farmers. We also have 336 individuals displaced following the collapse of 80 houses. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
It is a regional crisis of monumental proportion, ballooned to a national level, and the country's president sent one of his top ministers to console and sympathize with chiefs and people of the region.
So in the midst of all these regrettable incidents, he is at least happy that no life has been lost. He is saying so because life, when lost, cannot be regained.
Kwesi Amankwata assured the chiefs and people of the region of fixing the roads in record time.
No matter the extent of the devastation, no matter the extent of the destruction of the road network, that is within human capabilities, that is within the powers of his government, and that all roads that have been destroyed and bridges destroyed would be reconstructed in a record time.
In PNW Ghanem, they found a reliable partner who constructed more than 80% of the roads in the region, including those destroyed by the flash floods.
Our engineers have been on site. They are doing a lot of work. They are taking inventories. And by the end of the week, by Friday, before Monday, we would have known exactly what should be done to reconstruct the roads, to reconnect all areas that have been separated from the rest of the region.
It's been 5 days since the flash floods occurred in the Upper West region, and the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, led by its Upper West Regional Director, Ahmed Mustafa, has finally been able to make initial assessment of the situation.
722 farmlands have actually been washed away of what happened on Friday, and the total number of farmers of this acres stood at 1,605, and we have some houses that were actually collapsed, and the total number of households that have actually collapsed is 80 of them, and individual being displaced so far as this flood is concerned is 336 as at now.
Ahmed Mustafa revealed that in the next few hours they will be reaching out to some of the affected victims with relief items to assuage their suffering. He, however, has this appeal to those living in low-lying areas.
They should immediately evacuate to other relations. If they are unable to, they should reach out to our offices, and we use the same religious organization and the Ghana Education Service, because the basic schools are on holidays, to use their facilities on a temporary basis for now. It would have been good we use our tent at the community level, but as we speak, there are still some water here and there at the community level.
At the Wakajet Yellow Station, transport fares to the affected communities have sharply skyrocketed, sometimes bringing disagreements between passengers and drivers.
Well, it's something we never planned for. We didn't know it would increase like this. So what I plan to come and do, I have to reduce it. And I'm not happy with that. But what for do is something I don't have control over. I have to just do that in order to go back to my station.
You know, from here to Jirapa, the kilometers was 62 kilometers. Now where we used to pass this time around, it's about 98 kilometers. It's a very long distance. So because of that, we have added 10 cities to the old 20 cities, making it 30 cities.
The violent flood waters that used to gas out in between culverts are almost receded because there have not been further rain since the incident occurred last Thursday, a sign of some small relief for a region that knows it may never be the same again. It will take months or probably years to recover. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam.
Well, the NDC in the Upper West region, that's the NDC caucus in Parliament, has made a clarion call for the Akufo-Addo-led government to act decisively and swiftly to ameliorate the sufferings of the residents affected by the floods in the region. Secretary to the caucus, who is also the MP for Dafiama, Busi Isa, Dr. Sebastian Sandari, among others, called for the urgent deployment of personnel of the 48th Engineers Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces to create temporal access for residents, while efforts are being made to rehabilitate the roads and bridges.
The livelihood of persons in the affected communities is greatly threatened as foodstuff, livestock, and crops have been destroyed as a result of the floods. Access to healthcare in some communities has equally been challenged greatly, as these communities cannot have access to the nearest health facilities as a result of the inaccessible roads. In fact, some communities have virtually become islands. The Ministry of Roads and Highways should liaise with the Ministry of Defense to, as a matter of agency, deploy the 48th Engineers Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces to the region to create temporary access while efforts are made to rehabilitate the roads and bridges. This intervention should not be limited to the major trunk roads, but should also include the feeder roads that have equally been affected by the floods. In the interim, also, maintenance work should be conducted on the existing alternative routes to deal with the growing human and vehicular traffic to forestall a total collapse of the road network in the region. 2. The Minister of Interior, through the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, and liaising with other relevant state agencies, should conduct a thorough assessment of the impact of the floods to provide adequate grounds for the necessary state intervention. 3. The NADMO should also, as a matter of agency, provide temporary shelter, food items, and beddings to displaced persons and communities. Other relevant items, as the situation may warrant, in respect of building materials and compensation for lost farmlands, crops, and livestock, should also be pursued vigorously. 4. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture should liaise with the Finance Ministry as well as other development partners to secure funding to rehabilitate the 4 irrigation dams that have been adversely affected by the flood. 5. The health authorities in the region should position the health system appropriately to respond to any emergencies and outbreaks the flooding may occasion, as well as intensify public education on the health implications of the floods. 6. The general public, other state and non-state institutions, including civil society organizations, NPOs, development partners, should lend their support to the communities affected by the floods in the region.
Away from the floods, poor school infrastructure and shortage of qualified teachers have threatened the provision of quality education for hundreds of children at Nablok, a border community in the Bumpungu Nyanpanduri district of the Northeast region. The children are currently learning in a mud structure which was constructed several years ago and has severely deteriorated with cracked walls, sandy floors, broken windows and leaking roofs. The school has only 1 trained teacher and 2 volunteers currently teaching the entire school. The pupils tell Joy News despite the challenges, they won't give up. They, however, pleading with the education authorities to fix their school building and send in trained teachers, as well as provide furniture and learning materials. Ilyas Utanko reports.
It is a Wednesday morning here at Nablok, a community in the Bumpungu Nyanpanduri district inhabited by tribal Bimoba farmers in the Northeast region. Time is about 9 a.m. and this shimmering zinc rooftop is the building of the only junior high school in the community. The facility itself appears old, weak, and completely in shambles. It is only a mud structure constructed decades ago by the community after years of neglect by the state. From poor infrastructure to lack of teachers, teaching materials, furniture, this school lacks almost everything. The students have just been dismissed from the morning assembly and are headed into their classrooms for the day's lessons to begin. Inside the classroom is a sandy floor, cracked walls, stones used as desks, and leaking roofs. The school has only 3 teachers, which include a trained teacher, a NAPCO volunteer, and 1 other from Togo who can only teach French. The only teacher who has reported to school today is busily preparing the Form 3 students for their BECE external tests. The students for both Form 1 and 2 were therefore left stranded, cramped on broken tables and chairs with no academic activities for the day. And the students tell me this is a regular occurrence.
When we are here, we never seen any science teacher here. And we don't know what is science. We don't know what is ICT. We don't know what is social studies. It's affecting us so much. And we are pleading for government to give us more teachers. And it will help us to write exams and pass.
We are sitting on the floor. Sometimes we can't even write. If master writes on the board, we can't write.
For the Form 3 students, however, teaching and learning was ongoing, but under these disastrous conditions. The children are being taught information communication technology lessons, but without computers.
Let's look at some of the features. You have the document, and the first one is the title bar. When you say title bar, title means heading. Title, heading. So the whole document you are going to, the whole this thing you are going to type, this is where you will see what type of window are you using. So if you are using Microsoft, the first one you see is that it will be Microsoft.
This teacher, Kwame Frimpong, appears very brilliant and only needs the right tools to impart knowledge to the children. Unfortunately, he's been teaching under these tragic conditions for 3 years. He is now very doubtful of his own effort and wants an immediate intervention from the state.
Extremely difficult, very difficult, because we don't have anything to think practical. Here to is a village where there is no light and go, so the students are not even having a feel of it, and they don't know what it's even about. All that you do is that you make it practical for them. When they get a chance, get to a better access, then they can have a feel of it. The situation, if we want to give an account of everything, is just bizarre. The shortest description I can give is a bizarre situation. Back then when we were in college, though sometimes they will let you understand that you will not get it rosy, everything will not be rosy. But I did not give it a thought that it will be worse like this. So I thought maybe you can go to a place, it will be bad. That's why they will tell you improvise. But there are some situations, no matter how you improvise, it will not work. Such is what we are enduring here currently.
Quality of education depends on the availability of textbooks and furniture, availability of sanitary and water facilities, conditions of school structures, and the availability of quality trained teachers, among others. But here in the Nabluk Junior High School, the situation is completely the opposite, where children have been studying in a hostile environment. And the cumulative effect is that the performance of the children in the school in the basic education certificate examinations has been relatively lower than the national average.
For ICT side, the teaching and learning is too difficult because there is no computer in our school. And even we have never seen it in this school before. So we are pleading the governments and the NGOs and civil organizations for them to come for our aid.
We are pleading Ilyasu Tanko reported.
The NGOs and all other individuals to come in our aid because we are suffering.
The Anglican priest who has gone viral for kissing 3 female students at St. Monica's College of Education at Asante Mampo has been relieved of his duties pending investigations. Authorities at the college say the decision is to allow the necessary investigation into the conduct of the embattled chaplain and lawyer Reverend Father Obin Labi. Acting principal of the college, Venerable Dr. Oche Kranchi, says the decision was reached by the management of the school and the Anglican Church. Ohimin Terry of our security desk was in the school and has filed this report.
Reverend Father Obin Labi is seen in a viral video which has received wild public condemnation, kissing students after a Sunday Mass service. The incident is said to have occurred after Sunday Mass service to usher in new SRC executives of the school. The peace case from Father Labi was to appreciate and honor students who are members of the chaplaincy committee for distinguishing themselves in the college. Authorities of St. Monica's College of Education say the man who has been working in the school for the last 5 years as chaplain and lawyer is relieved of his post until further notice. Venerable Dr. Oche Kranchi is acting principal of the college.
Our attention as a college was drawn to a video which has gone viral. It's gone far. Many of our people outside the country have tried to reach us, trying to find out what is happening. And they are on various social media platforms involving the chaplain of our school, casing some students whilst officiating the Mass on Sunday. the Anglican Church, Internal Province of Ghana, has issued a statement this morning on the matter, expressing how saddened the entire Anglican Communion has been as far as the matter is concerned, and also providing a way forward as far as investigation and our support service to our students. The said Reverend Father, by the directive of the church, in fact, he is not a full staff. He was seconded to be with us, and it's the bishop who takes decision on him. And the bishop has directed that he should be relieved of all his clerical and pastoral services to the school whilst the investigation is ongoing.
The incident comes as students of the college write their end of semester examinations. Venerable Dr. Kranche announced counseling sessions for affected students and asked for public support.
We have the counseling unit. So we have engaged our gender session. We are engaging our dean of students, and we are engaging our psychologists and counseling team on campus to offer counseling service to the students, who, especially those who were involved.
Meanwhile, some residents at Mampong are outraged over the incident. Whilst condemning the act, some called for disciplinary action against the Reverend Minister.
It's a disgrace to those Reverend Fathers outside, because this man have disgraced all of them. It's not good for you to be kissing students. And when it comes to the student side, when they go outside, people will not respect them.
The video in the Ankoye, but see there, also Mubisa school authorities, you know, because I don't know, Osha video na kasa, I did taisi.
Aufubia ye ne basa bia, ohusa video no a. Ne yembehino, ebehano say sofo na ye ne basa, na chese wo kire ne ba no a kire bone. Nti de sofo ye na ntwa yie.
Oh, enya cry. We say nipa mu say de ontumi nya de wuye. Yare bebra ba. Omunche no smart. Has of ukisi students are. No, say yare ne ba ye nti na ye say kiss de eni kwan say. Na sofo no so wanye ne ye. Ohun. Wanye ne ye.
Omu say eniema ankoyi. Saa time ya ye womu e COVID time. Ya omampanisi nyina ye mo ye ho ban. Even at all, say social distance, entity and temuno. Any can say kutu sa.
From Asante Mampong for Joy News, I'm Interia reporting.
Still, let's do some road traffic accidents. Stakeholders, especially Queen Mothers, the viewing of Joy News' latest hotline documentary Crashed, have resolved to become road safety ambassadors to advance the advocacy. The documentary, produced by my colleague Seth Kwame Boateng, highlighted how children are dying from road accidents on a daily basis and proffers some solutions to address the situation. The Kumasi premiering was successful in compelling participants to take action to protect children from road accidents. Prince Apia has more in this report.
Today, I focus on children who are getting their lives either snapped out while others live the rest of their lives maimed through road traffic accidents.
It's been an emotional viewing of the documentary Crashed here at the Kumasi City Mall. The viewing attracted so many stakeholders from almost all the socio-economic divide from the Ashanti region and beyond. After more than 2-hour viewing of this particular documentary, the MTTD commander in Ashanti region, Superintendent Dubuahin, Mrs. Theodosia Jackson, who is a road safety ambassador, and the DVLA representatives that were present here all admitted that more needs to be done to address this particular challenge.
People are not responsible and they take the rule into their own hands. I'm sorry to say we have laws in Ghana, but we don't implement them. Everybody does what pleases them.
These are some of the things that we can prevent. They are predictable and they are preventable. If you see Nananum and the MPs and the ministers here watching this, for me as an TTD officer in charge of the region, it is going to make my work a little bit easier. Please, let's join hands. We can prevent these things.
Now, some queen mothers that we spoke to after the viewing admitted that it is very critical they become road safety ambassadors.
I will say, you ambassadors. You educate the Yabesha, you do crummy. You more education, said the Yababeshan, a yara hostem, and if it's in a co, Obia Namwa. On just or Chakwema, on she, the Naya said Kwam Boatin, a year yabehui, or no, a seminar real no nam so or cobo who de ra. And I'm so many park on Makumo, so Wamia Yesa, and Yemeyama and Kwale.
My name is Prince Apia reporting from Kumasi.
Still in the Ashanti region, President Akufo-Addo has revealed his vision to position the country as a center of excellence for medical care in West Africa by 2030. This, he said, is to be achieved by mapping various regional health facilities for specialization and investment in healthcare infrastructure. The president spoke at a ceremony for the takeoff of Government's Agenda 111 of health facilities at Trede in the Etrima-Kwanoma district of the Ashanti region. Nana Aljima has more in this report.
According to the president, research has revealed $6 billion was invested in seeking medical services abroad by Africans in 2016. Nigerians alone spent $1 billion of the amount. The population of West Africa is projected to reach 500 million by 2030. President Akufo-Addo believes medical care delivery holds great economic potential.
The goal is thus to position Ghana as an attractive medical destination with excellent medical facilities for our neighbors to patronize. Several countries have benefited from international medical travel. Benefits to these countries include enhanced GDP growth, improved healthcare infrastructure, foreign direct investments, tourism promotion, and importantly, halting the brain drain of skilled medical professionals. In order to take advantage of the huge potential for medical travel, we began during my first term in office a program to revitalize healthcare infrastructure in our premier hospitals. Investments were made in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra to build a new 400-bed maternity and gynecology block and a new 100-bed urology and nephrology center of excellence. Government will build on this foundation and include 2 additional projects currently in the planning stage, namely the Trauma and Acute Pain Center and a new surgical service block with modern inpatient facilities.
The president says a corresponding investment will be made in education to achieve the target.
Whilst we upgrade facilities, we should invest in medical education and training of our health personnel, including expanding the use of IT for medical diagnosis and treatment in the Agenda 111 healthcare facilities being developed. This network of primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare facilities will form the backbone of the vision to make Ghana the leading healthcare destination in West Africa.
88 sites have been identified for the Agenda 111, with work commencing at all sites from August 17, as efforts are being made to secure other sites. An amount of $16 million is needed for each of the healthcare facilities. Minister for Health, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, gave an update on COVID-19 treatment centers.
Works are currently also ongoing at the Kumasi Treatment Center at Sewa, at the Kulundebota region, Zebila in the Upper East region, Sevia Sawenso in the Western North, and Kolebu in Accra. Other sites are Sunyani, Takoradi, Nalerigu, and Cape Coast. Excellency, all these treatment centers have got financial coverage and we have promised to complete this in good time for our use.
Meanwhile, Asantehene's representative reiterated public concerns in government's commitment in seeing through the project execution. Nana Achenakwaja V wants the president to see these projects as legacies of his stewardship.
Ghana for Jiwachini. Untumenya Sekumaudia, Untumente on some free home. Omana dear, Unye, a ferry. Social media and the Echiniebe brain. And so, Sanya Obasra, Tumfo, Kachira Wano, Tumfo, Awa Reshimusa, Ubetmia, now the Bruni, a friend of a legacy.
For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Mino. Still to come in business, averting a food crisis. National Food Buffer Stock Company discloses fertilizers are being transported to address the shortages in the northern part of the country.
Fertilizers there have been delay in supply of fertilizer, but that issue has been resolved. A number of trucks have moved from Tema to the parts of the north to deliver fertilizers to farmers.
And later in the bulletin, the rights of women in Afghanistan will be respected within the framework of Islamic law, the Taliban said in its first news conference since taking control of the country on Sunday. We'll speak to Poeta Kazan, who is an independent geopolitical analyst on the Afghan situation. Stay with us for details of this after this break.
And it's time for business. I'm Charles Aite. The National Food Buffer Stock Company has disclosed that fertilizers have been transported to the northern part of the country to address its shortage in the system. The shortage has led to fears of a food crisis in the coming year. But the Chief Executive, Hanan Abdul Wahab, says his outfit is committed to ensuring food security in the country. We have more in the inauguration in this report.
In recent times, there has been an increase in food prices, and it was linked to the lack of fertilizers and climate change as the major causes. This has triggered panic among many Ghanaians. However, Chief Executive of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Abdul Wahab, has reiterated his outfit's commitment to ensuring that Ghana's food basket is safe. He spoke to Joy Business on the sidelines of the inauguration of the company's reconstituted governing board.
Generally, it's going on well because we have more farmers. I think we have clocked over 1 million farmers now. We're looking at about 1.5 million farmers benefiting the planting for food and jobs. I can assure you that there will not be food shortage. We have put in measures, and we have been in this business for the past 4 years, and thanks to the planting for food and jobs, where a number of farmers have been registered on the program. So we are doing our utmost best, and a clear example is that the Free Senior High School is not struggling in terms of feeding. We are always available to provide them with feed. So yes, fertilizers there have been delay in supply of fertilizer, but that issue has been resolved. A number of trucks have moved from Tema to the parts of the north to deliver fertilizers to farmers.
Meanwhile, Haji Hanan could not disclose how long his outfit can sustain the country should Ghana face imminent food crisis.
This is a national security concern. I may not be able to give you. It's a tight-lipped strategy because our weapon is our reserve. So, and this interview is going worldwide, and it's for your own good. You understand? It's for all of us, our own good, for me to declare our weapon. You understand? What I can say is that we have enough to sustain the country.
The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Efriyi-Akoto, inducted the reconstituted board of NAFCO. The 7-member board is chaired by a legal practitioner, Henry Nana Boakye, and includes the company's chief executive, Hanan Abdul Wahab. Here is the board chairman's remarks.
Honorable Minister, myself and my team wish to assure you that we will work hand in hand with the management, staff, and your ministry and all major stakeholders along the food value chain in order to fully realize the objectives for which the National Food Buffer Stock Company was established. Honorable Minister, I have the absolute trust in the members of the newly sworn-in board because each of them brings on board vast experience in various fields of endeavor. These experiences will be fully tapped to serve the best interest of the company and Mother Ghana.
Well, the Minister of Food and Agriculture has also sworn in a newly appointed board of directors for the Quality Control Company, a subsidiary of the Ghana Cocoa Board. Now, the Minister has charged the newly constituted board to work hand in hand and very hard to maintain Ghana's reputation as the world's premium cocoa producer. We have more in this report. The 5-member committee of the Quality Control Company are taking up new roles after 4 years of the company running without a board. The Agric Minister, Dr. Wusi Afriakoto, in swearing the members in, challenged them to work hard to maintain Ghana's cocoa standards.
Ghana's cocoa, because of its high quality, is used as a mixer for boiled chocolates to give it the right taste. And the demand is very, very high.
Meanwhile, chairman of the board, Dr. Ebenezer Wusu, who is a lecturer and head of department at the Plant and Environmental Biology at the University of Ghana, pledged resolve to improve the quality standards of cocoa in Ghana.
Reaching the top is a monumental achievement, but remaining there may be the most spectacular feat of all. For this reason, we as the board of directors, we are going to ensure that the premium quality that Ghana's cocoa beans enjoy will continue as a preferred choice of all chocolate and beverage producers of high reputation and distinction.
The 5-member committee includes Dr. Barima Afrani as board member, businessman representing the private sector, SB Kangbere, businessman representing LBCs, Cocoa Pond, and acting managing director of the QCC, Julius Mark Kojo Owusu Martinson. And that'll be it for business for this segment. Sports comes up this day.
Thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you sports here on Joy News Prime. My name is Hans Mensando, and the Black Stars will clash with Morocco, Comoros, and Gabon in the group stages of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations after tonight's draw in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Here are the 6 groups. So we'll be seeing the host nation Cameroon up against Burkina Faso and also Ethiopia. And there is Cape Verde as well, completing Group A of AFCON 2021. Senegal are in Group B alongside Zimbabwe, Guinea, and Malawi. So those are the 4 teams in Group B. Group C has Morocco, the Black Stars of Ghana, Comoros, and Gabon. Initial commentary across social media is that this is a relatively easy group for the Black Stars. Nigeria, Egypt, Sudan, and Guinea-Bissau, and that clash between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Pharaohs of Egypt is one that lots of people will be looking forward to. And also Algeria alongside Sierra Leone, Equatorial Guinea, and Cote d'Ivoire in Group E. And also there is Tunisia, Mali, Mauritania, and Gambia in Group F. That concludes their pairings for the group stage of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. And of course, we can only wish the Black Stars all the best. Now, former Chelsea defender Marcel Desailly is of the opinion that Romelu Lukaku's move from Inter Milan to Chelsea is a very good one, as he was the missing link in the puzzle for the Blues.
They're already on the Mourinho, so he left.
Return.
United.
Sorry,
the return. Yes,
the return to Chelsea, yeah.
So yeah, it's a great news because honestly, Werner did not show this great, ability to be, the first choice for Chelsea. So yes, now Chelsea has what was missing, the striker. We had Abraham also, who on the what is his name? My teammate from Chelsea. Tell me the name. Lampard. Yes, Lampard, yeah. I find it difficult. Werner Abraham on the Lampard was doing very well, but no, Lukaku, it's a big hit for Chelsea now. Defensively, they are strong. Play at 3. Maybe he might change at 4. The midfield, very good, very strong. Diversity of players. And now at front, we have, the killer. The one that nobody thought that he could reach this this level, because he has now a technical sensibility of the ball on the touch. He's strong. He knows how to make his movement. So I'm very, very pleased about it.
That's it for now. There'll be more sports later in the bulletin. Becky is up next with Showbiz. Stay tuned.
So what do you have for us today?
Let's talk about KK Fosu. When was the last time you heard from KK Fosu?
When you interviewed him, that was yesterday.
So the same event, he spoke about the youth, going into agriculture. He thinks that that's the only way out. No one should depend or rely on any leader for the betterment of their future. It has to do with them.
Okay.
A lot. KK Fosu is about to drop the Back album. People should watch out. Okay. And KK Fosu is about to do so many things. We are into farming. KK Fosu is about to project talent. I mean, the youth. We need to empower the youth. Ghana, we lack so many things. And I think it's about time for you and I to wake up. We shouldn't depend on any politician or any leader in quote that or share on papa. No, don't depend on. Wake up and let's enter into agriculture. God will bless Africa, especially Ghana. I love everybody. We don't stop.
It's important that we do something for ourselves. Even if you have a job like yourself.
Yes, you have to. Well, I'm also planning on, going into farming very soon. So hopefully you will see something from me. But let's move away. Let's talk about Asamoah Gyan. So, Asamoah Gyan don't always talk. But we had the opportunity to have a conversation with him. And he is set to release his much anticipated book in October. And
he's right. He's
there will be a very huge launch. That's what he said.
We're working hard underground. We created the press lounge to create awareness for people to know Asamoah Gyan is coming to launch a book. So we're looking at somewhere in October. To make sure everybody is comfortable and then participating on the book launch, because it's going to be a very, very huge event. So
how huge would that be? Because I'm anticipating.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody is invited. It's going to be the book launch. Everybody is going to know.
All right. Baby jets right there. I am expecting that huge launch, know. And I'll give you all the details.
It's good he's put something on paper, to inspire the youth.
And also talk, about, the things that we don't normally talk about.
Off the pitch.
Let's talk about rapper Lewin. He is saying that he almost committed suicide when he was just about 11.
Wow.
Yeah, here's something.
Mental health issues are real, Becky.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the latest in the world of showbiz. Thankful for your company. But if you're watching us on Joy News, you want to stay, because we'll be bringing you some analysis on the Afghanistan issues. We'll be speaking to some geopolitical analysts and also explore the aspect about women who have been affected by the developments there. Please stay with us. Let's talk about the Afghan unrest now. And 10 days ago, this is what the BBC published. After 20 years of war, foreign forces are pulling out of Afghanistan following a deal between the US and the Taliban militants. They moved from power back in 2001. The country's hardline former rulers have quickly gained territory in recent weeks from Afghan army soldiers who are now being left to protect a fragile government. The Taliban also made a pledge for national peace talks, but many fear a worsening civil war remains the likely outcome. Let's understand the situation more. We are joined by Poeta Kazan, independent geopolitical analyst. He worked with Amnesty International, the World Bank and the UN, and most recently with Crisis Group on Conflict Prevention and Resolution. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. Let's take a look at the humanitarian needs, the increasing numbers of internally displaced persons amidst COVID-19, the conflict and the drought as well.
Yes, indeed. No, thank you very much for having me. I mean, it's difficult to really know where to begin with this the situation. The past 48 hours, I think, are some of the most unprecedented military advancement and changes to a country's regime we've seen in decades. And now we have to look at the aftermath and a Taliban, controlled country, particularly in the humanitarian front. Yesterday, Germany announced that they would be taking 12 to 15,000 initially refugees, and we've had other reports that European countries will do the same, but no other official figures I've had a chance to find yet. During the conflict itself, there was about 250, 300,000 Afghans who were displaced, including about 120 who fled to Kabul as the Taliban advanced. As of now, it's going to be difficult to ascertain really, how many people will want to flee, how many people were able to flee given the events yesterday at Kabul airport. And yeah, there's also the arrangement with the United States and other allies to help withdraw Afghan individuals who were interpreters and translators during the war. So a lot of elements here, a lot of things to come.
But let's just go back a bit. How did we get here? We know this started some 20 years ago, but how did things deteriorate so quickly in the last few weeks?
Well, that's going to be something that will be analysed for decades to come. It's a combination of. I think the important point here is to remember the United States was always going to withdraw, but no one could envisage how quickly they were going to do so. The original deadline was May, then Biden pushed it back to September the 11th to be, to mark the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, the attacks. Exactly. But I think that President Taliban's advancements in only 6 weeks, on July 8th, President Biden and the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson both said independently of each other that, the likelihood of a military takeover by the Taliban was unlikely. Here we are 6 weeks later, and as I say, it's one of the fastest advancements in many recent times. I've heard people, comparing it to the Blitzkrieg, and even Alexander the Great, a very famous conqueror from a few hundred years ago. So this is something we'll be talking about for a long time.
And you mentioned the withdrawal of the U.S. Joe Biden indeed has said that September 11 will be the date for total withdrawal. Some have said that this would further degenerate the already terrible situation. Would you agree?
As I said before, I think the rate at which the withdrawal was done has certainly exacerbated the instability of the country. The Taliban were always ready to, make this move when the US decided to fully pull out. The fact that the United States didn't even notify the then Afghan commander that they were pulling out of Bagram, a huge military base in the northeast of Afghanistan, really didn't play into the hands of the Afghan government well and the forces. What we've seen so far in the past 2 days, relative stability in the streets of Kabul. That's mainly out of fear, not so much out of security. The spokesperson has been saying that women can attend university, and that we've seen a female anchor engaging with a member of the Taliban's media team, or representative, if you like. So the Taliban are sort of trying to portray this evolved sense that they are, but it's 2 days later. Things could change within a week, within a month, once attention of the world's attention has gone elsewhere. So, I want there to be as much stability in Afghanistan as possible, and as much freedom and rights for everybody, particularly women. But yeah, it's difficult to say just whether or not it will collapse into another failed state. But
what do you say? Yes, what do you say the government then needs more political unity and much stronger leadership around this time?
Well, the Afghan government isn't really existent anymore. The existing Afghan government under Ashraf Ghani is no longer. Ashraf Ghani has left the country, as far as reports say, and is supposedly in Uzbekistan. There are discussions, I've heard rumors that there was like a resistance force being built up by the vice president, and that he should be caretaker president, is something I read a couple of hours ago. So there are movements going on. Sorry, please.
Yes, go ahead, please.
No, it's sorry, my connection's a little bit laggy maybe, but no, I think that the Taliban's power structure, as we see it, is going to be hugely important in this. They have the political commission in Qatar, which they didn't have 25 years ago. And the fact that China and a couple of other countries have already recognized the Taliban as the replacement government is a significant step. So yeah, that's I can go into more if you like, but that's a brief overview because, as I say, things are changing by the hour.
And back to the issue of the withdrawal of the the troops by the U.S. Do you think that they actually undermine the capability of the Afghan army soldiers?
To some extent, yes. As I said, I think the fact that the United States didn't tell the a senior member of the Afghan government army that they were pulling out of the most important military base in the whole country, other than maybe a couple in Helmand province, is significant. And I mean, a lot of the responsibility rests with the countries that invaded Afghanistan to try and remove the Taliban in the first place. This, discussions are going to be held about this, about whose fault it is. But we have to consider the fact that the Afghan forces were not either willing to fight, or the level of corruption, desertification. These are all questions that the United States and allies did come into the country and try their best to equip the forces, with equipment, artillery, and training. And now we've seen the entire country fall. And they had 300,000 forces to the supposed Taliban's forces of about 60, 80,000. So responsibility must be held at both doors, I think.
Interesting. Now, just as we wrap up on this point, what can you tell us about the Doha peace process?
Oh goodness, that is a good question. Well, the Doha peace process, the Doha agreement was, the eventual agreement that was established by the United States and the Taliban, which came into effect February 2020. It took a good year and a bit to get it established. The agreement was that the US will pull out as long as the Taliban doesn't allow any extremist groups like Al Qaeda, effectively, and because there is a degree of ISIS, Islamic State factions in the area, country. Sorry, but how can we guarantee that the Taliban are going to keep their word? This is what I mean. It's very difficult to tell in a couple of years. But the other aspect of this, which the Taliban have already said they will honour, is that anyone in amnesty will be respected, no harm will come to them. But the Doha agreement at the time, it said, the Taliban didn't want any foreign fighters to be there on the soil. The fact that the Taliban have so quickly taken the country and now already basically running it now, I think has meant they surprised themselves, I think. So they're having to sort of land on their feet a bit and say, look, okay, foreign fighters can be here to a certain extent, but if you leave quickly. That's more my personal feeling at the moment, not based on too much evidence, but just using a bit of common sense there. So we'll have to see.
And just finally, the conflict has killed tens and thousands of people, displaced millions. Citizens are now desperate, seeking an escape. What should international partners do?
Well, we're going to have to see. It's difficult because you've got the unilateral approach to this versus the multilateral approach. The UN obviously had an emergency session yesterday, and I expect them to probably encourage countries to pledge funding and support. The UNHCR is there, UNICEF is there, other entities are there, but the problem with these kinds of things is that the dysfunctionality in the international community when it comes to a major crisis. Just look at the response we've had with COVID. Not exactly coordinated and united. COVAX is still poorly utilized in poorer regions of the world. So I think you're going to see a leading role from the immediate neighboring states. because they're the ones where obviously they'll be receiving the brunt initially of many refugees. So.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That's Poiter Kazan, an independent geopolitical analyst joining us on the Afghan situation. He worked with Amnesty International, the World Bank, the UN, and most recently, Crisis Group on Conflict Prevention and Resolution. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Anas Mini. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories plus business and sports. Stay. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Former President John Dramani Mahama has criticized the government for what he refers to as failing to continue with major projects that were started under his leadership. Addressing the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs at Bolgatanga, where he's currently on a thank you tour, John Mahama cited the abandonment of some road projects and uncompleted community day senior high schools across the country as examples to back his claim that the current government is wasting taxpayers' money by abandoning all these projects.
One of the roads we're working on was to connect the Upper East region to the Upper West region through to Muhain Road, and we had a contractor busily working on it. Today a lot of that has stopped. We worked on the Upper East Regional Hospital, phase 1. We finished most of the structures. It was left with just bringing in the equipment to make it functional and then start phase 2. That project has stalled because we deemed that it was necessary to have a referral hospital here in Bolgatanga so that all cases don't have to be referred to Tamale, which is almost a 2-hour drive away. Governance is supposed to be a continuum. And so when the government takes over from the other, it continues what the previous government was doing. When I came into office, as best as I could, the projects that we had inherited from the preceding government, we tried to continue them. Some we concluded, some we finished. Others we moved it to another level so that another government can also continue based on the resource envelope that was available to us. And so our urge that you continue to urge on this president that the E-blocks that are standing, they are a disgrace to our national reputation. Because as I've said before, it's not my education minister here, Nana Opokwajima, who was my running mate in 2020, who financed them out of her pocket. Or it wasn't me who financed it out of my pocket. It was the taxpayers' money, your money and my money, that we used to put up those blocks. Some are near completion, others are at various stages, and they've just been abandoned. And today we don't have enough capacity in secondary school.
John Mahama has also been speaking on freedom and independence of the media. He criticized government for the closure of some radio stations in the country. According to him, such actions have the tendency to set a very bad precedent in the country.
Freedom and independence of the media. Indeed, there's a whole chapter on media freedom. Unfortunately, even when you have the best constitution, you can have governments that try to bend it to be able to achieve whatever ends they have in terms of limiting our democratic rights. So today, government can say that a radio station has been late in paying its license fee, and so we're shutting you down. When I talk about it because of the precedents it can set. Because the shoe can be on the other foot the next day. And a tree, I don't know how we say it in our language, but they say the stick that they used to beat Ban is the same stick they used to beat the chief. It says, Abaya Debo Techino and one near the Ban. So the stations you don't like, you can close them down today. When another government comes and it decides to do the same thing to the stations they don't like to, what kind of country would we be building? And so I say this to you because you are the moral voices of our society. And it must not be us alone talking. The civil society organizations, the traditional rulers, must all be seen to be pointing out where government is going wrong. I pointed out this as one of the major tragedies of this administration, which is intangible, is the fact that our institutions are being bastardized. And as the institutions are bastardized, people don't see any future in terms of what opportunities are available for them.
The former president also touched on issues of economic hardship in the country and the growing agitation among the youth. He wants the government to pay attention to issues being raised by the Fix the Country campaigners rather than the seeming intolerant posture of government.
Youth unemployment has been a problem for governments all over the world, but it's particularly a problem for governments in Africa. We have 12 million graduates coming out of universities and tertiary institutions all across the African continent. And yet we are producing between 6 and 7 million jobs a year. And so what happens to the other 5 million graduates who cannot find employment? Let's not think that if you are enriching yourself, you are safe. When the youth rise up, they think that everybody who is living a good life is one of the people oppressing him. That's why he cannot get a job. In Ghana, it's more civilized. Fix it. What have they done? They've not gone on rampage. They've not destroyed anything. And so what we should be doing as leaders is listening to them. And so when people in government think that these young people must demonize them, or must do this, it's not because of MPP. It's all of us. They are expressing disappointment in our collective leadership. And the government communicators go and lie that I've given them 85,000 pounds and I'm giving them 1.5 million CDs for their demonstration. Absolute lie. Those old Machiavellian tactics don't work. I haven't given Fix It one single CD. And yet to demonize their leaders, create the impression that their leaders have collected money so that you can detach the leadership from their following. For me, I take them seriously because those young people are our children. And whether you demonize them or not, the problem of youth unemployment remains.
Now, candidates in some of Accra's top schools participate in the West African Senior High School Certificate Examination, WASSCE, say the government's past questions have been timely in their preparations. With the coronavirus forcing school closures at some points, the questions have helped recover the lost hours while shaping the approach to solving questions. Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson monitored the process on day 2 of practicals for visual arts students and has come through with this report.
Boys of the St. Thomas Aquinas School in their chapel, attentively listening to every piece of advice from one of their teachers, hopefully grasping the methods used to solve these elective maths past questions. Of the 897 students registered, Headmaster Paul Amwesi Beidu expects nothing less than 8 A's from each of them.
I am sure this year we should do much better. Last 2 years we had the best student had 6 A's, about 7 of them. Last year we had the best student having 7 A's, about 9 of them. Wow. And then this year, so I've told them, this year I don't expect anything less than 8 A's. And so that is always what I tell them. So I'm confident that this year the results should be better than the previous years.
Outside, after 3 hours of sculpture and leatherwork projects, the visual arts students were on break. They had 2 weeks to prepare.
Oh, I'm fully prepared. Oh, 8 A's.
8 A's?
Yes.
You're that confident?
Yes, please. Aquinas, you know Aquinas, we are always on top, so okay. 8 A's. And actually, visual arts, we are the best visual arts students in the whole Ghana or West Africa.
How do you get to keep so calm in the midst of an examination like the WASSCE?
It's because I prepared. The questions were given to us last 2 weeks before this week, so I'm very much prepared. Score plenty A's. Yeah, it has really been cool. Like, we were practicing on our work to see how better we can do in our WASSCE exams.
Accra High School. Under a tree, one could hear the different rhythms of hammer hitting nails and wooden boards. Visual arts students are hard at work on their practicals. They were so focused, the presence of our cameras could not distract them. According to the assistant headmistress of academics, Monica Botrick-Bobo, they were taken through several sessions to psych them up for the exams.
We even hold classes for them on weekends, although it's a day school. We teach them on Saturdays. We teach them early morning from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. before normal classes start. After school from 4 to 5, we still do extra classes for them. All these are interventions that we put in place. Apart from that, we had academic clinics where we take them through how to answer examination questions, how to solve some of the difficult questions that they usually come across, and all that. So with all these interventions, I expect them to perform very well.
Other final year students had gathered in groups at the school's assembly hall, revising their notes.
I'm expecting A's, at least A, B's. Yeah, I don't want to go to C. I'm expecting A, B, like EMAS, maybe at least by B, and like science A, commerce A.
The government have been providing the core, the commerce, inter-science, that's social, and the English. It has helped a lot because it has also helped us in solving the past question, knowing how the question will be solved.
Our teachers have done so well by taking us through all the 4 core subjects and also our 4 electives. And we are very confident that with their help, we will be able to pass the WASSCE very well.
For Joy News, Mamiesi Thompson, Accra.
Still on education, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, says it expects the National Labour Commission, NLC, to withdraw its case from court. The NLC had earlier sent UTAG to court over their refusal to call off the strike. The High Court, however, advised both parties to adopt an out-of-court settlement approach. NLC is therefore set to begin talks with UTAG as part of efforts to settle the ongoing dispute on the 18th of August. National President of UTAG, Professor Charles Marfo, however, expects a court case withdrawal.
We had a letter inviting us, and you also acknowledge the fact that we are still in court. And so if while you are in court with extend such a hand, perhaps you should go. But our lawyers will have to advise us appropriately. In fact, this year discussion has been, advice has been that it is a very good gesture, and so you probably have to go. But as to whether our lawyers will represent us or we'll be there ourselves, that is another question. Well, our expectation has always been saying that somebody dragged us to court, and we thought that was not good. And so hopefully they want to, well, I guess a way of resolving it by withdrawing cases. I mean, we're supposed to be negotiating, and through NLC we have been taken to court. And we are saying that if negotiations could resume, just withdraw cases. I don't think one can ask for anything more than this.
Vice Chancellor Ghana is urging the University Teachers Association to call off their strike as some public universities contemplate shutting down. Chairman of Vice Chancellors Ghana, Professor Abednego Fahi Oko Amate, says the strike is having a devastating impact on public universities and they're taking every step to get the strike called off.
We are making all the efforts so that we call off the strike. We understand the issues. I want to appeal to UTAG to call off the strike so that we get back to the table and discuss the issues. We want to join government and what the judge has said and appeal to them that the call of the strike. One, because of our students. I mean, we know what they are going through. We know the pandemic we are in. If you ask them to go back home and then a few weeks time, you have to call them back. We understand the implications.
The Tertiary Education Institution Network 10 of the NDC at the Kenya University has expressed disgust over the protracted impact of the UTAG strike on students and the academic work. According to the group, students have been left stranded on campuses as the direction for academic work is missing. The student group is also disappointed in the move by the NLC to take on UTAG in the court of law over the strike. Emmanuel Osei was at the press conference organized by the group and our reports.
In the wake of the recent nationwide strike by university teachers, the NDC Students Wing at KNUST has voiced their complaint. They say the strike has had an impact on them and fear an extended effect on the academics. At a press conference, leaders of the group say they would resort to demonstration if the government fails to get UTAG to return to the classroom. Theophilus Beche is president-elect of TAIN KNUST.
The strike commenced on the 2nd August and has since not taken any positive turn. It now appears that the negotiations has been bogged down by a legal tussle between UTAG and the National Labour Commissions, whose duty ideally is to function as the middle voice to trumpet the grievances of UTAG for proper redress by this clearly irresponsible government. We are deeply worried as students have been the bargaining chips in this industrial conflict which the government has consistently and calculatedly turned a deaf ear to. Students are now stranded on various campuses as they are uninformed about the progress in the matter. We do believe that this strike action can completely distract the academic calendar and have a diverse consequences on students should the government fail to urgently come to the table to draw a concrete roadmap towards building consensus with the UTAG to ensure resolution of these impasses. The prospect of Ghanaian students who will be leaders in not too distant future is at stake, and we cannot afford to annihilate it because of the government strike insensitivity. If they don't come out and negotiate properly with our lecturers, we also come outside to demonstrate against the government on these negotiations that they are having with our lecturers.
The outgoing president of TAIN KNUST, Simon Kwabnajiman, says the government has failed to respond to the situation which has thrown students into a mix-up. He says final year students who are expecting their national service postings are in a limbo while end of semester exam is hanging.
Right now, a lot of students are in the house. They don't know what to do. A lot of them are stranded. As I'm speaking to you, you know, some of them have to go and do, the continuing students have to go and do their attachment. And we, the final years, are preparing for our national service, right? We don't know the way forward, whether we are even going to do the national service or not. And the government is not even coming out to tell us something, to encourage us or something. It's like they don't care.
Simon Kwabnajiman pointed out the move by TAIN is not to politicize the UTAG strike, but to bring to light what has become a long-standing grievance for teachers.
Even if you are saying the truth and you are on the opposition side, they will just say, oh, you are from NDC and you are doing politics. But this is not politics. I want you to know it's not politics. We are saying the truth, right? And we can't sit down for just their own interest. So we have to come.
This is Joy News Prime with me, Anas Mino. The Association of Industries is painting a gloomy picture of the state of the local industry's readiness to compete in the African Continental Free Trade Area amid the COVID-19 pandemic. More on this in the second dose of Business with Charles Aite. You're going to stay for that.
Yeah, welcome back to Business. The Ghana Shippers Authority is assuring the port community, especially freight forwarders and clearing agents, that everything is being done to ensure that the allegations of mishandling at the country's ports are dealt with. Now, this follows recent agitations by importers and freight forwarders about unfair treatment by shipping lines. Here's a report from a forum held by the Center for Transport Security Dialogue in Accra.
Freight forwarders and exporters recently alleged mishandling at the ports as there are inadequate laws to sanction shipping lines. After a series of engagements with stakeholders, the Ghana Shippers Authority has assured that it is making progress in resolving all concerns raised by the freight forwarders. After addressing the Maiden Center for Transport Security Dialogue in Accra, freight officer at the Ghana Shippers Authority, Matthew Saki, said his outfit is taking feedback from all parties to ensure that the right thing is done.
Definitely do go back to check whether they are taking these feedback, and whenever we have challenges with their operations, we do engage them from time to time. So we are in constant engagement with them to ensure that the right thing is being done. Like I said, some of these problems are problems that have existed over a very long period of time, and you can't expect that at once. You want it to stop immediately and it stops. But we are taking steps and processes to ensure that things change for the betterment of Ghana.
President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obin, commenting on the matter, said that the Ghana Shippers Authority has relaxed in regulating the sector, a situation he believes is making the shipping lines overcharge exporters.
From what is going now, I don't think the Ghana Shippers Authority can control them. Most times they do their best to give directives as to what these shipping lines should do, but they do not go by it. It means that maybe there's no law to bite the whole thing. That's why we are calling for stringent measures or laws that will make sure that we have some control. It should not be said that we left them uncontrolled for them to just extort whatever they want from the consuming public, for the importers as well as the consuming public.
Country Director for the Center for Transport Security Dialogue, Kofi Asante, is confident that the concerns of the traders at the port will be resolved through advocacy.
It facilitates trade, it facilitates business, it facilitates so many things. So that SESET fixes itself in a position where we can make sure that all these stakeholders in the transport sector, from the high to the low, as I've said, will have a certain space to be heard, a certain space to have their grievances convey, and also make sure that there is profitability for those who play in the area.
The dialogue is centered on demurrage and its impact on prices of goods.
Now, the Association of Ghana Industries is painting a gloomy picture of the state of local industries' readiness to compete in the African Continental Free Trade Area amid COVID-19. As the agreement enters its 8th month of operation, President of the AGI, Dr. Yao Dujemfe, is doubtful about the capacity of local industries to compete. He cites the cost of power, the cost of access to finances, some concerns needing urgent remedy. He spoke at the launch of the Ghana Industrial Summit.
This has given us a great opportunity that we can see a brighter light at the end of the tunnel. This gave us some glimmer of hope as we prepare ourselves to deal with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. But it is very apparent that a lot more need to be required to enable businesses trade under the African Continental Free Trade, considering the turbulence that businesses went through last year. That's why it is great that the theme for this year's summit is repositioning Ghanaian industries to improve our leverage in working under the African Continental Free Trade, known as AfTA. This theme sets the tone for a good dialogue and policy prescriptions that should be propel our way forward. And I trust that all of us will participate, that we get the good mark from all the experts that have been drawn into this summit, from our key institutions, to help us elucidate the topics that has been outlined for the 3 and 4 days. Affordable electricity, Ghana's tariff negotiations and liberalization strategy within the AfTA, and the incentives for industries in Ghana are major concerns, because without these incentives, Ghanaian companies cannot become competitive. And we therefore want each one of us to participate, bring your ideas on board under this summit so that we can see our way forward. To do well under the AfTA, AGI understands the importance of the cost of doing business. Leveraging AfTA becomes more difficult if our local production and competitiveness is not considered. As a country, our mother Ghana has also signed on a number of trade agreements, such as the Interim Economic Partnership Agreement under the UK Trade Partnership Agreement, and I am certain that all these are well intended. However, let us not lose spirit of the fact that these agreements also come with a duty-free quota for all the provisions of imports that will be coming into our country. And be mindful that we also don't have much to export into their countries.
Meanwhile, the special advisor to the president, Yao Safamafo, says government is aggressively introducing policies and reforms to enhance the competitiveness of local industries. He cites the establishment of the National Development Bank, which will be launched soon, as some of the interventions to cushion undercapitalized local industries.
Government recognizes the challenges of a medium to long-term capital to our economy. You would have noticed that the banks, through no fault of theirs, have also preferred to lend short and maximum medium. Short-term lending is the icing on the cake for our banks, and for good reason. And as a result of that, retail trade, retail business have really flourished in our system, because the banks would normally prefer to lend short. So the traders had not much difficulty accessing bank credit, but industry has. And I think it's something we must look at. If we want to create employment, we must reverse it. Banks should feel more comfortable lending medium and long than lending short. And short-term lending must always be a coefficient of medium to long-term lending. I lend to establish an industry. That industry requires a working capital. That will be short-term lending. But for the industrial lending, for buying of plant and machinery, that will be medium to long. But for the working capital, that will be short. So you would have a term loan and also a short-term loan, an overdraft, you call it most of the time. The two must always go hand in hand. It cannot be that banks are more interested in overdraft than term loans. The two are sworn brothers in arms, and we must put them always together for the economy to develop and develop well. So AGI, you have a lot of work to do in making the Ghana Beyond Aid concept work and work effectively. There are certain areas we should not take for granted. We should look at and look at technically. We should look at and look at dispassionately if we are to move forward. The government has decided to establish a new development bank, and this has been mentioned by the AGI president and by the Honorable Deputy Minister. The idea is to find a solution to this term loan saga. We need it, and I believe that the new development bank will assist to address that problem.
Away from that, the youth and early startups in the Konongo areas of the Ashanti region have been schooled on the need to engage in small-scale processing and value addition to agricultural commodities. The training was initiated by Quantum Ideas Ghana, a non-governmental organization, as part of a Day Innovative Skills program that was part of activities to mark this year's International Youth Day to celebrate the contribution of young people to national development. Anita Sewa Ajuga has some details on this in this special report.
The program organized is to empower the youth with skills in soya milk production, branding and packaging. Executive Director of Quantum Ideas Ghana, Ethel Annie Komlaga, observes the lack of value addition to farm products. She believes adding value to farm products can increase farm income.
SDG Goal 12, responsible production and consumption. Yes, so this is the main reason why we are here today. A lot of us are producing right from our farms. We don't even know what to use some of the farm produce for. So we took a good look at soya. And if you look at our branding, we said Tebe milk production. Tebe is the same name for soya. So even the branding, the name alone, it's something that it says if somebody wants to find out more. What is Tebe? Okay, you go and find it is soya. This is what has come out of soya. And there are different ways you can brand it and put your name on it. And you feel proud that from your farm, you've been able to produce something that is going to the consumer straight away. And then you get some money into your pocket. Yes.
Member of Quantum Ideas Ghana, Ebenezer Ofori, believes the way out of graduate unemployment is entrepreneurship. He's urging the youth to take advantage of skills training programs to empower themselves.
Looks like almost everybody or almost every youth wants to be at the office and then be working daily. We don't want to come down to the ground and then get the skill that would make us productive. So I think this is one of the reasons why the unemployment issue is rampant in Ghana. So we only have to get a change of mind, just a change of mind, and then come down, get a skill, and then make ourselves useful.
Participants were, however, advised to desist from taking loans to start a new business. Emmanuel Chei Dompim, a Sinapia Bar branch manager, says she will soon.
Start a business from zero, identifying the thing that you want to sell. For example, somebody may want to sell tomatoes, but you don't have the capital to start. How do you do? Identify the people that you want to sell the tomatoes to. Go and bargain with those that are selling the tomatoes. Put some price on them and sell it. Go and sell them, sell the products, get some money, and pay back those people that you borrow the money, the tomatoes from. There you get money. You see, it's linkage. How to market yourself. Create a linkage for yourself. Then from that, you get some small money.
Participants expressed their appreciation to Quantum Ideas for the skills training program. Anita Sewa Ajuga reporting.
And that'll be it for business. We leave you with international business news, after which sports will be next to stay.
Many thanks for staying with us. Time to bring you sports. My name is Hans Mensando, and former skipper of the Black Stars, Asamoah Gyan, believes the four-time African champions have been drawn in a tricky group in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. Ghana will come up against Morocco, Gabon, and Comoros. Gyan, who is Ghana's all-time scorer with 51 goals, expects a feisty battle in Group C. He was speaking at tonight's draw.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky group. Morocco is up there. I think he conceded just one goal in the qualification, which I think is statistically is one of the strongest in the group. Ghana is also up there. That's my country. I'll be rooting for my country. But everybody who is qualifying for the African Cup of Nations is coming to win. So statistically, we are up there, but we don't know what is going to happen. We just have to stay focused and do what we can do to just qualify from this group, and then we see what happens. Because without a group, you cannot think about winning the cup. So we have to make sure we qualify from the group stages, and then we think about winning the cup.
No, because I was going to actually ask you that, because you said we go to the Africa Cup of Nations is thinking about winning, and I know Ghanaians have been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, it's been quite frustrating, since 2008. Our worst is the semi-final, so it's like we've always been coming closer to the cup, but we don't get it. I think back home, everybody wants nothing but a cup. It doesn't matter about the performance, it's about the cup, so that is what we're praying for.
But let's do some boxing. And light heavyweight boxer Samet Shakur, who lost at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games to Bayram Malkan from Turkey via second round technical knockout, has been explaining the reason for that defeat. He attributes the loss to partiality on the part of the referee, not the superiority of his opponent. My colleague Muftan Abil Abdullahi has the rest of the story.
Samet Shakur had higher expectations prior to the games, but was beaten in his first bout in the competition by his Turkish opponent Bayram Malkan. Despite surviving the count following a knockdown in the second round, the referee called off the fight to the disappointment of many. Shakur tells Joy Sports he feels he fought the referee and not his opponent Bayram.
Yeah, I didn't see the fight as like I lost it or something. It was the referee who didn't I think I fought with the referee, not the boxer, because as you can see, I was determined to win the fight, although my opponent was very rich, having a reach, so I was forcing myself. I ended up getting hit. I felt, but I was okay. If you watch that fight, I went up. He said I should clean my clothes. Yeah, I was ready to box. Then suddenly he stopped the fight. So everyone was like, who was that? What happened? So even the minister was there. He saw the fight. He was trying to do some talk about the fight, but I told him it's part of games.
Having participated in the Olympics, Shakur, Suleiman Tete, and bronze medalist Samuel Techi could be the bright spots for the country in the next edition of the Commonwealth Games and the 2023 Africa Games. Shakur says if government treats them well, they will be willing to fight for the country, else he could be moving to the professional level.
Yeah, it will depend, because I need to sit down and think about it, because Olympics Games, the biggest platform every athlete have to participate in, and I've been there, so it's going to depend how the government is going to treat us. If it treats us fairly, then here we go, we can go.
Shakur fought in the light heavyweight division at the Tokyo Olympic Games.
More sports at myjoyonline.com/sports. My name is Hans Mensah, and that'll be all for now.
That's why we draw down the curtains on today's edition of Joy News Prime. Many thanks for your company. Stay tuned in. You find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com.